Black Myth Wukong is a game set to be released in the later half of 2024. It is based off the popular story Journey to the West. The setting would be used by a great many of other Asian works, including one of my personal favorites, Dragon Ball. But with the game just a few months away, we would see Chinese media publishing stories that claimed that the company Game Science had DEI firms in the West try and extort the company for up to $7 million to fix the game for modern audiences. Allegedly, this refusal led to IGN posting a hit piece on the developer, which we will go over in a moment. Hey gang, I just started to look over the Wukong situation last night, which was a terrible mistake. The more I read on everything on the story, the angrier I got, which made going to sleep actually very difficult. But now that the morning is here, and I have reread the information that's available to us, I am mad all over again, so let us talk a little bit about what's been pieced together. First off, the only accusation we have that people are trying to extort the developers of Wukong, Game Science, is this one article out of China, at least to my knowledge. Game Science is a Chinese company, and my ability to read Chinese is a bit non-existent. We have had some real MVPs step up on Twitter to post more information from the Chinese side, which has been a major key in debunking a lot of the points that this IGN hit piece that was referenced in the Chinese article talks about. So let's go over that now. So first off, this article, How Black Myth Wukong Developers' History of Sexism is Complicating Its Journey to the West, came out in November of 2023. In the United States, that's right around Thanksgiving. Myself and many others missed this article entirely, as that's a time for travel, shopping, and eating unholy amounts of food. So to start out, this article leads with a major source for their entire article. IGN spoke to several women familiar with gaming culture as well as the games and technology industry in China, many of whom requested to be anonymous for fear of backlash from fans of Game Science and the broader games community. In the eyes of many female players, Game Science has a notable negative reputation, said Jen, a Chinese games designer who's now based outside of China. I admire their dedication and work. I had high expectations for their game until I came across their misogynistic remarks around 2021, which was reported in the news. What are these misogynistic remarks, you might ask? It is from a translation about a pre-alpha video that went viral on Weibo, where the first line is translated as, I want to expand my circle and hire more people, get licked until I can't get an erection. We would also hear about sexist recruitment posters with the source of, trust me bro, and the author would follow up with more proofs of sexism in the studio with messages posted further down where she helpfully added translations. However, in this day and age, we have the ability to take our phones and use Google Translate, and the translation in both of these images is not only wrong, but they add to the translation to make it seem like it's a comment that's sexual in nature. For the next bit of proof, the authors have to go back as far as 2013 to find a rant that's related to pop culture in China. The article then spends a long time talking about feminism in China before returning to Wukong to say that women in China refuse to buy the game now that they know about their sexist past. Now, everything thus far can be debunked with the smartphone app, with the exception of the first statement that is damning on its face. However, if you plug this initial statement into something like ChatGPT, it immediately explains this statement is an idiom. The text translates literally to, want to expand the circle and recruit a few more people, but got licked to the point of being unable to get an erection. However, the phrase is a used idiom in the Chinese language as a colloquial expression used humorously or sarcastically to describe a situation where excessive flattery or sycophancy has an overwhelming and paralyzing effect on someone. The use of such metaphors can be found in informal speech or on social media. And once we discover this, the entire article falls apart. Remember in the beginning where our brave journalist said they talked to women familiar with gaming culture in China? Later in the same paragraph, it says that they are now based outside of China. And if they were offended by the statement in 2021, that would refer to this Chinese idiom, which means this individual probably doesn't have Chinese as their first language where they would recognize this idiom. Just because someone is of a certain ethnicity doesn't mean that they are a master of the native tongue of that ethnicity. There are plenty of people in the United States with Asian descent that do not speak the language of the country their parents or grandparents are from. Now, I may be wrong here, but the journalist that wrote the article gave them anonymity. That means this credibility is determined by the quality of the article as a whole, and this article as a whole is one massive piece of libel. As of making this video, there's no definitive response from Game Science to say that the claims in the Chinese article are true or false. However, we would do well to remember an infamous statement from Kim Belair, the founder of Sweet Baby Inc.
If you're a creative working in AAA, which I did for many, many years, put this stuff up to your higher-ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
Sweet Baby Inc. would become infamous for going after an individual named Cabrutus for making a list on Steam that just listed the games that Sweet Baby Inc. had worked on. He personally recommended it against those games because the games that that company worked on were generally bad, and Sweet Baby Inc. was the common denominator. An employee from Sweet Baby Inc. would go and try and get Cabrutus banned from Steam so that he could lose access to a Steam library, and would go on a harassment campaign against him. Now, this would backfire on Sweet Baby Inc. spectacularly, which led to the Kotaku's senior editor Alyssa Mercante, imaged here, of her recently threatening to physically fight anybody that disagrees with her, writing a fluff piece telling everybody that Sweet Baby did no wrong, and it was actually individuals disagreeing with the company that were hateful bigots. She would then be called out on the facts for her poor reporting, that she would brush it off as sexism because she was a former sex worker and people hated that. These DEI firms are closely aligned with a large portion of games journalists. They both follow a path of cultural arsonism, where they want to burn down entire sections of the games industry and the media as a whole and rebuild it in their image, or for the portions that they don't like at all, just burn it down and not have it at all. And while I don't agree with Elon Musk on a great deal of things, I completely agree with him in his statement that DEI kills art. And while we don't have any proof of this allegation of extortion here, we have a lot of evidence of this being the way that these companies would behave based on patterns of their past behavior. Hopefully we'll find some kind of definitive answer from Game Science as time goes on. However, no matter what kind of response from Game Science we hear, this article written by IGN is completely inappropriate. The authors of this article should be ashamed for writing this libel. And IGN as a company is also responsible because they approved this. They didn't do any kind of fact checking for their employees writing this article. And it is a terrible reflection of their journalistic standards. In an era where games companies are struggling to stay alive and stay open, we have no place for these games journalists that are going to go and make meritless attacks on game companies like this. It's so difficult to be a creator in this space right now and move your life around or have a family that you can support. So when you have games journalists counting on a language barrier to be the thing that defends this kind of insane attack against them is absurd. It's absurd, it's inappropriate, and it's wrong. But with that said, Black Myth Wukong looks fantastic. And it will be out April 19th, 2024 for Steam, PS5, and the Epic Game Store. It will release later on Xbox because they're still working on optimizing the game so it has good performance on console. And I'm super looking forward to the work that my colleagues at Game Science have done, and I'm looking forward to playing the game. Now, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe for future games-related content. Thanks for your time, and I hope to see you in a future video. Farewell.